Hi there! So I'm going to be talking today about titration. I remember in my chemistry class in college, we had to do a titration. It was my first time ever. And we had an adjunct professor, and he spent 15 minutes explaining the process and then left the room. And so my group and I spent the next 2.5 hours trying to figure out how to do it. And honestly, I don't even remember if we did it successfully. But I was so thankful that I was never in my life going to have to do titrations again, because it was just horrible. So then we started doing ASR, and you have to do titrations for your NaOH to make sure that you have it at the right concentration for your solution for your ASR bars. So Jonathan decided that I was going to be the titration expert. And the first time I did the titration 10 times, and I got a different number every time, and I just was so lost. It was terrible, but that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Thankfully now I've been through enough that I can do it once, and I'm confident with, you know, the figure that I get, and I know, you know, how to calculate from there. So anyways, so we're gonna do kind of a quick how-to on titrations. It seems a lot more daunting than it actually is. So what you're gonna do is you are gonna get 185 mils of DI water and put it in a glass beaker. You're gonna add, and this is just for NaOH, titrations obviously can be different depending on what you're evaluating, but for your sodium hydroxide solution, you are gonna take 7.5 to 8.5 grams of potassium hydrogen phthalate and mix it up in here in a magnetic stirrer. From there, you are going to add 5 drops of phenolphthalein, and then you are going to use a 50 milliliter pipette to put your NaOH in there, and then you're going to continue to add until you get like a nice light pink color that stays in here. So we'll show you that last step in just a few minutes here, but that's kind of the process in a nutshell. So it really is not as daunting as it may feel. Once you get used to it, it's not terrible, and then you start recognizing, you know, the pink and how to be able to get it quickly and efficiently. So we'll be back soon. And we're just gonna add it until we start going pink. Here's the pink you want to slow down. So this is a stronger batch here, but you want to add nice and slow until you get it. And this is about the pink you want, and you just want to make sure that it's gonna hold for at least a minute, because sometimes you'll get like a little splash of pink, but it's got to maintain that color, and then you know you're at your concentration. So then there's some calculations based on how many grams of your potassium hydrogen phthalate you used, and then how many mils of your NaOH you used. You figure out your concentration from there, and then you know how much of NaOH you need to use if you're not at your 1.0, and you dilute what you need to with deionized water. One other really important thing to note too, and I'm completely covered here, but sodium hydroxide is an incredibly caustic solution. I've gotten some pretty nasty chemical burns because I ended up scratching my leg and didn't realize it, and I just was like covered, and I had no idea what it was. Finally I figured it out. So be incredibly careful. I've got 2 layers of gloves on here. You want to make sure you're wearing your face mask, your goggles. This is definitely one of the more nasty chemicals that you have to deal with when you're working with concrete, and especially when you're doing ASR testing. So make sure you're protecting yourself when you're doing it. So anyways, that was it for that. Titration was just incredibly intimidating to me, so I wanted to do a little how-to for you guys on that. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. Be more than happy to provide some insight or tips if you have any. So anyways, thank you so much for joining. Go concrete, beat asphalt.